Good morning, metalheads of the internet, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Metal Meltdown. Today, by extremely popular demand, we will be reviewing every single full-length studio album from American Grammy-nominated metal crew Killswitch Engage. I have been getting requests for like a Killswitch Engage discography review video for ages now, like pretty much as long as I've been doing the Metal Meltdown in its current capacity and form. And I've been waiting for just the right moment, I've been waiting for that perfect opportunity. And right now, aren't a lot of new releases out, not a lot that's really grabbing my eye at least, and that I'm convinced, I should dedicate a full review to this. And also, Killswitch Engage got a new album coming out next month, Great opportunity to dive in, to refresh my memory on these guys and what they do. I got the time. I got the opportunity. Let's do it. Let's go. Finally, I see you. I hear you. You're welcome. Now, as per the norm of any kind of reviewing every album style video here on the Metal Meltdown, I am only interested in the full-length studio albums released by Killswitch Engage. I am not interested in EPs, demos, live albums, compilations, or anything released by any kind of solo project or side project. I will also be talking about each album in order of release and assigning each a score out of 5, with 0 obviously being the worst and 5 obviously being the best. And because somebody inevitably is going to ask, no, we are not reviewing their upcoming album, This Consequence, today. The embargo for that album hasn't even been lifted yet. We will instead talk about that album in a separate album review video closer to the date of release. First up, we have the band's self-titled debut album, Killswitch Engage, released in July of 2000 via Ferret Music. Holds up pretty well, not quite as polished and as focused as other Killswitch Engage records, it's a little rough around the edges, it's a little manic in certain parts, it's a little bit more raw, but as a consequence of that, it's also got a lot of energy, it's also a lot heavier, and I like that, I like that. Like, I didn't grow up with a lot of like melodic metalcore and like the new wave of American heavy metal style stuff. When I was getting into metal, that was kind of on the way out. And like, I don't know, I was like a total like thrash metal, death metal elitist as a teenager. And even now as an adult, a lot of that stuff I'm kind of like, eh. But this first album holds up, goes kind of hard. It's kind of crazy. I personally prefer how much more extreme it is. I mean, there's a lot of like Swedish death metal, mellodeath influence on display here. A lot of like blistering, battering percussion, screaming vocals, a few In Flames, early Arch Enemy style licks and harmonies here and there as well as that like stubborn, spiteful energy of a band like, maybe not At the Gates, but maybe a band like The Haunted. Yeah, let's say Haunted. I like that it's a little bit more jagged and rough around the edges, like as far as the production and sound mixing is concerned. I do like that there are at least a few twists and turns here and there, nothing spectacular, but, just enough to make sure that the album doesn't feel like super repetitive in one note. Temple from Within, for instance, has these big, powerful fucking blast beats and like roaring vocals, and it also has these like really kind of cool, slick grooves thrown in. Vita Infra as well does a good job introducing some more nuanced, semi-complex and melodic riffage that still feels really dirty and groovy, blends in nicely with the more extreme heavy stuff, complements it quite nicely. And In the Unblind is filled with like melodic metal goodness, like I love those like heavy galloping fucking riffs all the way through. Feels like Iron Maiden going metalcore. I'm feeling a pretty solid 3.5 out of 5 on this bad boy. Not every track is a certified banger, Some tracks could definitely benefit from a little bit more spice and seasoning, But overall, pretty solid debut, filled with some tasty, catchy, heavy jams. I fuck with it. Honestly. Yeah. Next up, we have Alive or Just Breathing, released in May 2002 via Roadrunner Records. Killswitch Engage clearly learned a lot from the release and reception of their self-titled debut album, making some big moves on this bad boy. Getting more positive in a lot of the lyricism, Jesse Leach apparently was upset with how negative and violent a lot of heavy metal was and wanted something that was a little bit more uplifting through this record. There's a little bit more versatility in the actual instrumentation of the record, and especially in the riffage. I mean, previously we were pulling mostly from like Swedish death metal and hardcore. Now we've got a little bit more thrash, a little bit more groove metal, post-hardcore as well. As far as like production and sound mixing and mastering too, this thing is bigger, it's bolder, it's catchier, it's cleaner, it's more polished and pronounced. And the end result is a better record. I mean, I do find myself missing some of those rough charms and edges of the debut, but like this is undeniably a better constructed and more uniquely executed and put together record. And there's a lot of great songs on here, you know, like My Last Serenade, Just Barely Breathing, To the Sons of Man, Self-Revolution. The re-recordings of Vide Infra and Temple from Within, originally from the self-titled debut as well, juicy as all holy fucking hell. Delicious. I'm feeling a strong 4 to 5 on this bad boy. It's been a long time since I listened to this album in its entirety, and I'm really happy that it still holds up. A part of me kind of wants to buy this on vinyl. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. I'll keep you updated. I probably won't, because we haven't done a vinyl update video in a while. But whatever. Moving on. Great album. Next up, we have The End of Heartache, released in May 2004 via Roadrunner Records. Lead singer Jesse Leach is out. Howard Jones is in. This is one of the band's most popular and successful albums, still even after 21 years, and I'm not loving it, but it is easy to see why people are loving it. In my opinion, this is Howard Jones at his best vocally. Like, this is peak Howard Jones music. Like, a lot of stuff he's done beyond Killswitch Engage and the post-Killswitch Engage era, not so great. But I'll give him his flowers at least here. I like his deeper, more soulful tone, which especially pops up on the album's title track. I like his more spirited overall kind of feel and his cleans and his vibe. And there's definitely some good stuff here. When Darkness Falls, Rose of Sharon. It's nice to see Jesse Leach pop up on Take This Oath as well, kind of showing, you know, there's no bad blood, no hard feelings, you know, a nice, respectful pass the torch, pass the baton moment. But I don't know, man. I feel like Alive or Just Breathing was a little bit more dynamic and versatile in the riff department. I also feel like it had a juicier, more full-bodied metal sound. Like, this is a little bit more flat for me. And honestly, straight up, full disclosure, no word of a lie, I'm not a huge fan of the title track, The End of Heartache. I know it's a big hit for them. I know a lot of people love that fucking song. I kind of just think it's okay. I think it's kind of overrated. For me, this is a 3 out of 5, but, you know, it's a reasonably enthusiastic 3 out of 5. Again, I don't love it, but I can see why others would. Like, a lot of motherfuckers are going to show up here saying, this was my intro to Killswitch, this was my favorite from Killswitch. That's not going to bother me one bit. It's all good, I promise you. Agree to disagree. I totally see where you're coming from. That's all. Hope we're good. We're probably not. I can see some of the angry, pissy comments already. Ugh. Next up, we have As Daylight Dies, released in November 2006 via Roadrunner Records. And if you didn't like what I had to say about The End of Heartache, you might not like what I have to say about this. I'm gonna just let y'all know right off the bat. It's fine. I don't know. Something about this record, it just never clicked with me. Look, let's be real for a minute. Every genre has certain expectations, you know, and melodic metalcore is no exception. Like, your average melodic metalcore band is expected to do a song in a very specific way, and As Daylight Dies does exactly that on every track to a T, and that made it, for me, just kind of bland and boring and predictable. Like, don't get me wrong, Howard Jones sounds good. There's some inspired licks here and there, some big choruses, you know, a few meaty riffs here and there. But, like, man, it's the same verse, chorus, breakdown structure all across the board. A lot of the melodies sound the same. A lot of the hooks sound and feel the same. There's less aggressive and extreme moments, like, consistently across the board. I feel like we've really diluted, like, a lot of those more thrashy, punky kind of influences. Some of those are, like, more, like, melodic and Swedish death metal influences, and now it's just, like, full-blown what you expect of melodic metalcore. I know that at the time this was still like kind of a new sound and feel and vibe, but like in 2025, I've heard a billion albums that sound exactly like this, and it just doesn't hold up for me as a result of that. I do find myself enjoying cuts like This Is Absolution, Still Beats Your Name, and I think that the closing number, Reject Yourself, is legitimately pretty good, maybe the best cut on the record, but overall, I'm not feeling it. I don't hate it, but I'm not feeling it. 2.5 out of 5. It's okay. It's fine. You know, it's whatever. Sorry. Don't scream at me. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. Next up, we have another self-titled album for some reason. Why would you have two self-titled albums? That just seems like a really good way to confuse people. Like, I was confused at first. I was like, oh, did they re-record their debut? Nah, it's a new album. It just is also self-titled for some reason. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It was released in June 2009 via Roadrunner Records, and from what I understand at the time, this got kind of a mixed reaction, you know? People were pretty critical of the album for being very formulaic, and also they weren't a huge fan of the production, and I can kinda, sorta see why, but if I'm being honest, I think I like this a little bit more than As Daylight Dies, and I think it's got a little bit more going on than some maybe would want to give it credit for. I mean, look, Killswitch Engage ain't exactly reinventing the fucking wheel here, and I concede production-wise, it's a little bit more dry than I would personally like. But I do think everything is a little bit more transparent and has a little bit more body and is a little bit more crunchy too. And I do like hearing some different influences come into the mix. Like, yes, they are still relying on melodic metalcore formulas like the ones they had on the last couple of records, and especially As Daylight Dies. But also, I feel like we're hearing more of those, like, more complex, nuanced riffs and some of those more, like, outside elements from, like, the very early stuff come back into the fray a little bit. Like, I would do anything, have some bigger, ballsier, heavier riffage. Reckoning and This Is Goodbye bring in some more, like, kind of, like, Swedish melodeath flourishes. Maybe not classic In Flames, but, you know, like, early mid-2000s In Flames. I'll take it, whatever, fuck it. The Return is a cool cut as well. Like, it takes some of that melodrama and the naturally soulful, rich tone of Howard Jones's voice, and it turns it into something, like, kind of dark. It feels like their twist on, like, a power ballad of sorts. And, like, Howard shines on this. Like, this is vocally one of his best and strongest and most memorable cuts with Killswitch Engage, for me at least. You know, even stuff like Never Again and Starting Over, which play things pretty safe, they just feel a little bit more inspired to me. I would say the only track I'm, like, outright not enjoying would be Save Me. Like, I do like its gristly, pronounced bass licks, but, like, also it does reek of this kind of, like, tough guy, dumbass energy that I expect from, like, a Pantera knockoff band. I don't know, man, shoot me. I pretty consistently enjoyed it, warts and all. I'm feeling a 3.5 out of 5, probably leaning towards a 3 out of 5, like it's right there on the border, but nevertheless, a 3.5 out of 5. I guess my favorite of the Howard Jones era. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I kind of fuck with it. Hopefully this makes up for not really vibing too much with the last couple, so hopefully. I don't know. Only one way to find out. Next up, we have Disarm the Descent, released in April 2013, once again via Roadrunner Records. I like this album. This was actually my introduction to Killswitch Engage. I was in my first year college when this came out, and kind of like just starting to really break out of this like only thrash and death is real metal mindset. I remember going to see Killswitch Engage at the Cool House. They were playing with Lamb of God, but I went because Testament and Huntress were opening. Those were the bands I wanted to see. And I remember being at the very front for Killswitch and like genuinely really having fun, but leaving that show not wanting to admit that I had fun. But whatever, we're getting off topic. We're not here to review a concert that I went to 12 fucking years ago. God damn it, I feel old now. We're here to review this particular album. I like it. I think it holds up. Kind of feels like we're picking up right where Killswitch left off with Jesse Leach on Alive or Just Breathing, but bringing in some of those more soulful tones and some of those bigger melodies I expect of End of Heartache. Like, we have some really fast-paced, genuinely like thrashy guitar riffage all the way through. We've got some really strong melodies. We've got some really great like guitar pyrotechnics. It's visceral and groovy and fun and well made, and it ain't gonna win any points for innovation, and spoiler alert, neither is any Killswitch Engage album from here on, but I'm having fun, I'm banging my head, and isn't that at the end of the day what's supposed to happen with an album like this? So, you know, it's all good. Like, In Due Time does a good job at blending, like, these more simple pounding riffs and these, like, more melodic riffs and harmonies and licks, and also, like, these more visceral, nasty, kind of, like, nuanced, semi-complex, kind of, like, thrashy riffs as well. The Hell in Me, Beyond the Flames, Turning Point, you know, again, it feels like we picked up right where we left off with Alive or Just Breathing. Always is a great song as well, a very touching moment on the record. I remember the music video for this being, like, devastating, too. Honestly, I forgot how fucking good Time Will Not Remain is, too. Like, Jesus Christ, what a fucking banger. I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 on this bad boy, you know? Like, honestly, kind of a great, like, mini comeback for Jesse and I guess Killswitch Engage. They just sound more fired up and inspired and pumped on this bad boy. It shows consistently. It's fun as hell. You know, it rocks. It's fun. It's cool. It's great. Next up, we have Incarnate, released in March 2016, once again via Roadrunner Records. The funny thing about this album is, you know, when I was doing some research, I came across some interviews and statements where Jesse Leach was like, oh man, this album really stressed me the fuck out because I was trying to talk about current events, but I was trying to make it ambiguous, you know? I didn't want to get, like, too political. I didn't want to hit people over the fucking head. And I had so many lyrics, 80 pages of lyrics, and I had so many ideas and so many songs. And then you listen to the album and it's like, I don't know, man, kind of sounds like you were stressing out over nothing, because it just kind of sounds like Killswitch Engage doing what Killswitch Engage do. And I'm not even talking shit or nothing. I'm just like, why were we stressing out? I don't know. Whatever. What do I know? I'm not Jesse Leach. I'm not in the fucking band. I don't do what he does. I just fucking sit here and run my little mouth and drink my little beer, and that's it. Whatever. It's a solid record. I don't really have a ton to say. By this point in Killswitch Engage's career, they know who they are. They know what they want to do. They know who they want to be. That's what they stick to. By default, that makes this record fairly formulaic, fairly straightforward, paint by numbers even, you know, meat and potatoes, as I often say. But, you know, it's a good, decent, hearty meat and potatoes dish. Am I gonna order this in a Michelin star restaurant? No, but, like, if I go to the local mom and pop diner, you know, or I go to a family dinner and I got this, I wouldn't be too upset. You know, I'd be like, oh, that's nice. Thank you so much. That's so good. You did a good job. Thank you. Some good stuff here for sure. Hate by Design, Alone I Stand, Strength of the Mind, Embrace the Journey, Upraised, We Carry On, you know. It's all more or less what we expect from Killswitch Engage. Well executed, though. I'd say the one exception to the rule is maybe, like, It Falls on Me, which definitely has a bit of that, like, End of Heartache, As Daylight Dies kind of, like, melodrama, but way bigger, you know? Way more cinematic, I guess. And, like, Jesse handles it, like, pretty well. Like, honestly, kind of an underrated performance and an underrated Killswitch Engage cut. Feeling a 3.5 out of 5 on this bad boy. It's good. Not much more to say. You know, it's Killswitch Engage being Killswitch Engage. And finally, this brings us to Atonement, released in August 2019 via Metal Blade Records and Sony Music Entertainment. I think you can kind of guess what I'm gonna say. It's Killswitch Engage doing Killswitch Engage. I could unironically end the video, and this, specifically this part of the video, but honestly the video in general, right here. But I won't do that because that's a bit anticlimactic, and I like a good solid climax. That's what she said. Anyways, to Killswitch Engage's credit, I do think that there's a little bit more meat and piss and vinegar in this one. This record just has like a juicier, beefier sound. I feel like there's a little bit more energy and like full-on thrash metal kind of shit in like some of the riffage. Like the Signal Fire, for instance, which also has Howard Jones returning on vocals alongside Jesse. A nice, kind of like no bad blood, no hard feelings, brotherly love kind of metal moment, you know? That song kicks ass. Howard's voice isn't as strong as it used to be, but Jesse and Howard complement each other really fucking well, and like the really fucking aggressive, like thrashy kind of shit underneath elevating that melodic metalcore, that's great. There's another great collab too in the form of The Crownless King featuring Chuck Billy from Testament, bringing in some like deeper kind of gutturals here, almost kind of channeling like Randy Blythe from Lamb of God. And I guess Killswitch always had Chuck in mind for this song because musically this does kind of find a sweet spot in between like some mid-paced heavy metal, groove metal, and like some of the more like thrashy pyrotechnics and some of that more like thrashy momentum that is expected of Testament. Ravenous and Bite the Hand That Feeds as well, filled with some fucking razor-sharp, vicious, gnarly riffage. Genuinely, like, damn. Unfortunately, there's a good handful of uninspired and underwhelming cuts right in the middle of this record that really just kills the vibe and derails the momentum of Atonement. Overall, though, I'm still feeling like a really enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5. Like, it's not drastically different from Incarnate, but it's just different enough and just hype and cool enough in a few key spots where I'm like, even if I'm giving them the same score ultimately, I would pick this over Incarnate. Like, Incarnate is probably more consistent from start to finish, but the high points on Atonement are a lot higher. No idea whatsoever why it's taken Killswitch Engage 4.5 years to release a follow-up to this. They tend to release albums pretty quick. I don't know if you noticed, not a huge gap of time between these albums. Plus, it's not like they didn't have time. Everyone was at home for 2 fucking years. Fucking COVID, for God's sakes. But whatever the reason is that it took them so long to do it, I hope they've been cooking the whole time. I hope they've been simmering. I hope they've been up to some shit. I haven't listened to a lot of the promo singles, so I genuinely don't know. Although I do have the album, This Consequence, in my inbox right now, so maybe I'll go listen to it after. Maybe. Whatever. Reviewing every Killswitch Engage album. Voila! Ah! Now it's your turn to tell me, what do you think? Did I get it right? Did I get it wrong? Did I get it somewhere in the middle? What's your favorite Killswitch Engage album? What's your least favorite Killswitch Engage album? How would you rank everything in their discography? How would you score everything in their discography? Are you pumped for the new album? Do you think I'm a poser and you want to kill me? Do you think I'm an elitist and you want to kill me? Let me know in the comments below. Press this button to subscribe. Look, more videos here. That's so fucking crazy. And as always, you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.